Hello recorders and iCarly fans, welcome back to my channel. I'm your host Steven. Well, today episode 5 of iCarly dropped today and they're bringing back an old character, Nevel Papperman. I fucking hated Nevel back in the day, just fucking hated him. And like Spencer said, Nevel is a stupid name. Last time we saw Nevel, it was in an episode of Sam and Cat where he was locked up in the cuckoo house. And it's very interesting throughout the whole episode, they did not mention that at all, which is another reason why I think Sam and Cat should be non-canon. The episode begins with Carly and the gang getting ready for a wedding. Yep, Nevel's wedding. Two things. One, why would Carly go to his wedding? And two, who would marry Nevel? Carly agrees to go to the wedding to prove to Nevel that she's happy being single and she would not get jealous of him getting married, which, here's a personal anecdote from me. Like, I remember 5 years ago when I was in college, there was this one girl who I really thought was into me and I always thought she was jealous that I was with the cuter girl. And especially how that girl, she ended up getting married a couple of years ago. And sure, even though me and her don't talk anymore, she would think that I'm jealous. But I've seen how the guy looks like. I'm way better looking than him. And now moving on to the wedding scene, Nevel makes his grand entrance. And as every episode of iCarly, every time they show an old character, that whole, woo! I am so fucking tired of hearing that. I hate it so much. As for Reed Alexander, he still got it as Nevel, even though he's kind of a shitty actor. I mean, if you look back at his early childhood work, he's always playing the same dorky nerd villain and all the shit he was in. Like, he has no range whatsoever. Interesting fact about Reed, over the last few years, he's gotten degrees in journalism, which he actually works as a finance journalist these days, which really good for him. Funny thing that happens throughout the wedding is Spencer, Freddie, and Harper are all trying to hook up. I mean, there's a bet going on between Spencer and Harper on who could get the most girls' numbers. And the funny thing about having Harper as bisexual is that she's able to be a comedic foil for Spencer in these kind of moments. Now, one of the things that I got a big takeaway from this episode was when Nevel tells Carly, have you found your soulmate? Like, one of the premises of the whole point of this reboot of iCarly is that all the main characters, they're all single, have been through breakups or divorces, which all these characters, they're just trying to find their perfect match. Because when you're basically, like for Carly and Freddie, when you're in your late 20s, you feel like, is it time for me to settle down? And how Spencer, he's like in his 40s, like, is it time for him to settle down? Like, that's like resonates well with a lot of people, and that's what I've been liking about the series so far. The whole episode, Carly thinks that Prunella is a robot, an android, which would make sense for someone like Nevel to build his perfect match. Moving on to the climax of this episode where we realize that Nevel's whole plot was to set up Carly as his bride. Like, I would say how they built it up to it was really good for the show. And like Nevel, he just wants to marry Carly because of their history, their decade history, their childhood sweethearts, which ain't true. But the thing that resonates well with me is that a lot of us want to marry our childhood sweethearts. Like for me, I really wish that Jamie was my childhood sweetheart. And here's the funny thing about our relationship. I would have never ever in my life meet Jamie if it was not for COVID. Like, had COVID not happened, I would have never met her, which I'm so glad it happened, even though the world's in a fucking mess. In the aftermath, both Nevel and Prunella realized they were made for each other and they get hitched, which good for them. And then Carly and Freddie share the sweet moment where they share a dance and talking about, are you happy being single? And she says, yeah. And it's pretty clear those two are going to end up together. Like, without Sam in the picture, just let those two be together. Final note, this was a great episode, but one thing that surprised me is that they made no mention of when Nevel kissed Carly without her consent, which I think they should have not ignored that, and Carly should have used it against him with, because of the Me Too movement over the last few years, it just goes to show that men are getting away with doing that kind of crap, and that Nevel, he should be held accountable for that kind of thing. Thank you for tuning in, recorders. Please hit that subscribe button, comment down below. If you guys have not seen this series, Paramount Plus offers a 30-day trial, but I do recommend waiting till all the episodes are dropped. Thank you so much, and catch you next time!